going to look at is triangles. Now there's three different types of triangles that we look for on the charts. We have our symmetrical triangle, our ascending triangle, and our descending. Really should have the pictures in order, but you guys can see down here the same one. So we've got ascending, descending, and symmetrical. So you can see how they all change a little bit, but we all have that basic triangle pattern to them. Now the ascending triangles are regarded as bullish, whereas the descending triangle is bearish. A symmetrical pattern or symmetrical triangle is a neutral pattern. So when it comes to the symmetrical triangle, guys, we essentially want to see price continuing in that same trend. However, it doesn't always happen and it can play out the opposite direction. Now, triangle patterns usually have an average of 4 to 6 reversal points, which are required to form the shape of the actual triangle. The more bounces inside the triangle, the more durable it becomes and the stronger the breakout is going to be. Now, guys, what I really want you to notice on triangles, because they're going to look very similar to pennants, is that the key when looking for triangles is the amount of touches in it. Okay, so what we're looking is 4 to 6 reversal points. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before it breaks off. So we want at least 4 to 6 within a triangle before we see that big push. We're also going to notice on triangles that for each single triangle we have, we start to lose a little bit of volume, a little bit of momentum before the big breakout occurs. Now with triangles, when the breakouts do occur, they're pretty strong. So they're not always going to retest back onto this level. They're actually going to break pretty strong. Now, one thing to keep in mind, guys, as we start going through these continuation patterns, if you are using these in the crypto market, a lot of the time you will see the breaks to the right direction pretty strong. So what that means is in cryptocurrency, if we're looking for the break to the top side, it's going to break out and go really, really strong in that direction. Now, what I have learned over time with the Forex side is sometimes these patterns tend to go in the opposite direction first, okay, before going in the correct direction. So that means that in crypto, we'll see a break to the top side and just continue on. Sometimes what we'll see is price break to the opposite direction and then continue on to the direction it should have been, okay? So these are things to keep in mind, guys, because whilst our patterns play out the same on every single market, there are slight differences that can occur. Now with Forex, we have institutional movements, okay? So we need to see price, you know, if we're looking in that up direction, we need to see it go to a sell position first before we have that buy position. So you guys will understand that when you start going through back testing, when you find these patterns, you may see that they go the opposite direction first. Keep that in mind, okay? Because it still gives you all the same information. It's just a slight bit different. Does that make sense, guys? Especially if you're breaking it down to those smaller time frames too. So our triangles do not always have a very sharp push. If we happen to see them, they're more like pennants. However, we can't rule them out. Sometimes we have that strong movement up and then we'll have that those reversal points within that triangle, okay? Triangles happen over a longer period of time. So when we see these, we're expecting them on the higher time frames, and we're also expecting them to play out over a couple of days or a couple of weeks, essentially, as well. So let's have a look at how to draw the triangles. With our symmetrical, what we're going to do is we're going to connect at least 2 lower highs and 2 higher lows together. These lines will now act as your support and resistance levels for the triangle. Any break is usually followed by a significant move. So the thing that you guys already noticed in that wording is support and resistance. Your lines, your converging lines that are coming together to form your triangles are going to act as support and resistance. Every time price hits the top, it's going to reject off just like it would resistance, okay? So we're going to take these rules and bring them in as well. With ascending, you're going to connect your equal price highs and your higher lows to this one. Ascending triangles are considered bullish, as it shows that the buyers outweigh the sellers by creating higher lows after each pullback. Now, prices are pushed higher and higher until the resistance cannot hold. Your descending, we're going to connect our equal price lows and our lower highs together. Descending triangles are considered bearish, as sellers outweigh buyers by creating higher lows. Prices are pushed lower and lower until support cannot hold. We should, however, consider the overall trend to help identify the break to the upside or downside of the triangle. Now, even though a triangle is ascending, there is no guarantee it will break to the upside. As with a descending triangle, there is no guarantee it will break to the downside. So guys, you can see there already, we're bringing in support and resistance, and we're bringing in trend lines and market structure again. The four fundamentals are now being brought into these patterns. So we need to make sure that we're getting really good at our fundamentals. So here is an example of some triangles. Now what we're looking at is here, we're in an uptrend. We're seeing an ascending triangle form. What that means is that we have our resistance line across. We've found a level of resistance. Price gets there and it's constantly being rejected. Now, every time price comes down, we're creating higher lows. So here's one, there's the next higher low, the next higher low, until it gets to a point where we start getting squeezed within this little connection zone. So it's where the two lines have converged together and we're about to get squeezed essentially into this little corner. Now here is where we'll actually be able to use the volume indicator to see any movements that might have dropped back, a bit of momentum's dropped as well before we see this massive push. Now what we're also looking for is how many touches are in there. We can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, come back down, retested 6, and then we've pushed off. Okay, so we can see there's lots of bigger movements that are happening within this one. Now a little tip is to identify the slope. So if we've got a slope going up and we're in an uptrend, we have a higher probability that price is going to break to the upside and continue in that same direction. The next one is our symmetrical. So in this one, we can see that price is pushed up again. We've been going in a bit of an uptrend. We've hit this level. And now every time we're rejecting or bouncing off these lines, we're creating lower highs, okay, and higher lows until they come together. Now this area, we can see them rejecting once, twice, 3, 4, 5, back down for one more test, and then push off. Now remember, with symmetrical triangles, they could go either way, okay? They could go straight up or they could come straight back down. Again, it's really important to take our market structure and our trend lines to help us identify that. What we really want to see is that break to the continuation. Now we move over to that descending side again, okay? We can see the slope is going down, and we can also see prices probably come from that downtrend direction. Prices hit, okay? And then we're bouncing back up. Now in this one, what have we found? We've found that level of support. Okay, this is probably a key area of support if you happen to look left, where price is held for a relatively long period of time. Every time we bounce off that, we get to create a high, which is lower than the previous. So that creates our slope down. Again, we're looking for those moves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on this one. Okay, you can have a look, you can decide how you're going to figure out how many touches. You can have bigger movements, smaller movements, all of that, but you guys can see very clearly we have a lot of movement within the triangle. So again, when it gets to this point, it's starting to get squeezed. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for momentum, volume to all drop before we have that really big push. Now you guys can see on every single example here, the break is strong, right? This break is strong, this one is strong, and this one is really strong. When we see breaks out of triangles, we essentially want to wait for that candle to close to confirm to us that the candle that we're watching is one, first of all, a breakout candle, and two, it has a lot of momentum behind it. If we have a candle that only breaks very small and is still kind of relatively within the lines of our wicks, so like this, if it's still in this area, chances of it coming back in and being a bit of a fake out could be quite high. So we really want to see big momentum of that breakout. We also want to see close of that candle to confirm as well. Then we can get into the market and continue price